either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
And today, we finally are getting to our anti-romance movie for the year.
Yeah.
Just had to take a little bit of a precaution, but...
We're back.
We're back. We were going to do a filler episode, but we were able to actually record today, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited to be back. But today, we are doing a... This year's Anti-Valentine's special.
This one's up your alley.
It's up someone's alley. We're going down under in the less biblical sense to the wonderful land of Australia to focus on the most romantic event of a teenager's life, a dance, in 2009's The Loved Ones.
A prom love obsession horror.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie.
It is, and I really like that, like, especially at the beginning, this movie plays so hard off of some of the old horror concepts of, like, Carrie and those 80s Scream Queen styles.
And
where, like,
serial killers and shit, yeah.
Oh, man, no, when this started up, I was like, oh, this is reminding me of so many different movies right now. I'm loving all of the bits it's pulling from.
Yeah.
This was for the right people. For me and you,
yes.
This was great.
I knew you would like this one.
I loved this one. I will say, though, being stuck in 2 rooms of my house, one of which has no doors, no walls, trying to figure out how to watch this film without my roommates who would hate this film.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it in pieces.
Yeah,
there was a lot of pausing.
This was one I definitely gave you enough warning. I'm glad I gave you warning on ahead of time.
Me too, because, like, especially from the cover... Like, you know you're getting into horror when you start. There's no question about that. But what level of horror is not clear for, I would almost say, the first, like, 30, 45 minutes of this movie. Which I liked. Because, like, it starts off, you're like, okay, we got our crazy psycho killer, good scream, good, like, prom horror, love it. And then it, like, takes a sharp turn.
Yeah.
And it was at that sharp turn that I went, all right, we are watching this with the volume all the way down. Yeah,
no, there are parts of this, because I remember when I first watched this movie back in, like, my early days of getting into film, where I watched it, and there were just parts where it's, like, the weird juxtaposition of a lot of the brutality and the generic prom, stoner, alcoholic shit.
Yeah.
But it all fits together, and I'll get into that as we go through it.
Yeah.
But for those unfamiliar, because this one is a littleish known movie.
I would say it definitely flew under the radar, at least here.
Oh yeah, no, definitely here. And, I mean, not really in so much the horror community of the era. I mean, it's been pretty well received for, like, a lot of people not knowing about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're into the really heavy slasher flicks... This one's gonna be, like, a good one. Yeah,
if it's nicely within with, it's not part, I don't think it's part of this set, but it's, do you remember, like, the After Midnight Horror Fest, the 8 Films to Die For? It has that kind of era vibes.
Yeah, and so if you're in that genre, I can totally see how you would know about this movie, and it'd probably be up there in your top movies.
Yeah.
But if you're just in the horror genre... You probably haven't heard about this one.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if you don't know it, The Loved Ones is a 2009 crime horror movie about a dude who gets kidnapped after rejecting a girl's invitation to a dance.
Yeah, and it just spirals from there.
Yeah, no. It's definitely interesting because, I mean, on top of that, so it was written and directed by Sean Byrne. And it stars Xavier Samuel, Robin McLeavy, and John Brumpton, which most of them haven't really gone on to do much else. Whereas, like, I think this is his second movie he directed, or no, he did one after called Devil's Candy.
Yes, which is similar if you liked this one.
I don't think I've seen that.
You will love it.
Okay,
you will love Devil's Candy.
Yeah, I've known about it, but I don't know why I just haven't gotten to it. It's kind of like it kind of makes. I don't know. Maybe it was probably around the time I maybe got it mistaken for Hard Candy.
Which, not the same.
No.
Not the same.
I know they're not, but my mind at the time. But on the other hand, Samuel has been in quite a bit, including a couple of the Twilight Saga movies and Fury.
Yeah, and this movie now that I've seen it, and now that I've also seen his other work, this kind of has put the director Sean Bryan?
Byrne? I don't know. It's Australian.
I'm sorry, man. This has put him on my radar of, like, directors I'm probably going to keep my eye out for in the horror genre.
Well,
because I liked this one, and when I was looking through his catalog, I noticed that, like, he'd done a lot of shorts. And then there was this one, and then there's the Candy one. And so I watched the Candy one after this one, thinking, okay, like, because some of the reviews I had seen, people were like, oh yeah, like, he doesn't have the extensive catalog that we're used to seeing. Yeah,
his catalog, from what I know of Devil's Candy, it makes me think of more how what we see in, I guess, more stereotypically, the South Korean directors that are big here.
Yeah.
Where they don't have a big catalog, but it's a good catalog.
Yes. And so this is kind of, for me, this movie has put me on his radar. So, like, if I see his name out there on a horror movie, even if it's not one that people are, like, talking about, I'm probably going to give it a watch just because I was so impressed with this one and Devil's Candy.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get to that one at some point. Just, I got to get through a bunch of classics before that.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. As for Mcnamee, most of us here would know her as Nancy Lincoln in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
A classic.
Not to be confused with Abraham or Zombie Hunter Abraham Lincoln or whatever the hell that one's called.
Another classic.
Awful but fun.
It's so good.
As for Brumpton, the guy who plays the dad, he's been in a crap ton of stuff. I have not seen anything besides this that he's been in. I guess he's a big Aussie actor.
Yeah, like, I
or well enough known.
Yeah, like, I recognize some of the names of the stuff he's in, but I haven't seen most of his work.
Oh, yeah. But the one that we know the best, as, and it's of note as well, this is her first non-TV debut, Jessica Mcnamee.
Yes.
Which she stars in The Meg, which we reviewed a couple years ago.
Of course, so good.
And she is Sonya Blade in the new Mortal Kombat.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah. No, she's the goth chick.
Yes.
Very, very drastically different in this movie than anything else you'll see her in.
Yeah, but I think she did a really good job. Especially since now that we've seen, like, now that we can place her in those other movies, seeing her in this one, I was impressed. It was a good flexibility range for me.
Yeah. No, she is actually a pretty solid actress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before we get into it, there's no commentary, so this is all just us ad-libbing and just...
And enjoying the movie for
the movie, most part. Yeah, exactly. This is the first one in a while we've talked about that doesn't have anything really...
Yeah, and there's not a lot of sources for any of this. This is mostly just... We got to watch the movie.
We got to watch a fucking fun horror film for the first time in a while from what we normally do. So, and before we dive in, Chris, what are we drinking today?
Today we have milk, but not just any milk.
The king of milks. The prom king of milks.
Oat milk. Because if I drink normal milk, we won't make it through this show.
Yeah, and I don't want to repeat my morning.
I understand.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ah, so delicious.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it.
What do the Aussies cheer? I don't know.
I think they just say cheer. I'll have to ask.
Oh yeah, I forget you got Aussie connections.
I do have Aussie connections.
And so, the loved ones.
Yes.
We open on a small town, and it feels like a slightly not really run down, but more rugged small town.
Yeah, it's not... I mean, it kind of reminds me of, like, our horror movies version of, like, the Midwest.
Yeah.
Without actually being American.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the thing, too. So, as the movie starts, we get the title cards, but honestly, if you weren't looking at the signs in this movie, you would think it was small town USA.
Oh, yeah, which I like.
Yeah.
Because, it does... Like, especially once you get into the details of it, it's clearly not in America.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter.
No.
Because this is kind of like that isolated town in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not completely isolated. You're not like, we're not moving towards creepy, like, isolated town, there is no hope sort of thing, but like...
Not Deliverance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you don't feel like you have the resources of, like, a big city horror movie.
Yeah, it makes me think of Downtown Rogers if you ignore the fact that there's a bunch of crap around it. Larger crap around it,
30 years ago, Downtown Rogers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, any small town in the U.S., for any historic downtown, small town.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, after the title cards, which are weird because they have that very ornate, like, gothic font style that kind of makes me think of, like, Death Note for some reason.
Yeah. When I first watched this one, I had this as one of my complaints, and then the second and third time I watched it, I moved it from complaint to, like, praise category. Was this movie felt like it jumped styles a bunch.
Yeah.
And, like, the first time I watched it, I was like, what is this font doing here? Mm-hmm. This feels really weird. But now that I've, like, after the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is pulling from all of the old, like, prom-style horror films. This feels very 80s.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, it starts establishing this juxtaposition between, like you said, jumping between genres, because this movie is, at its heart, it's a teen drama movie.
Yeah.
And somewhat comedy, too, here and there.
Yeah, it follows the, like, dumb outline of one of those, like, romance movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not the like solid, like, adult style ones, but like the teenage heartthrob ones.
Yeah, kind of like for me it makes me think of, oh shit, what's the one with Heath Ledger, the one where he's on the bleachers singing.
Oh yeah, what is that film?
10 Things I Hate About You, I think.
I don't remember.
I don't either. I mean,
but yeah, like it feels like that. It reminds me a lot of like those old like live action Disney Channel movies where it's like it happened. I know you didn't watch them. I was forced to watch them because I had a friend who that was like her jam, and it's a lot of like teen heartthrob. Like there's a problem, but it's not a real problem. Like this, we're like, oh, prom's coming. Who will we ask to the date? I hope Jeremy picks me. Sort of nonsense.
Oh. Is it like, what's that, I think you sent it to me. It's that one stupid Harry Potter mashed up with, like, the teen drama Camp Rock or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, it follows a lot of those vibes, and then it throws in, like, the...
super violence.
Yeah, but then at the same time, and then throws in all of these old, like the title card, all of these old, like, joke references to like 80s horror and screams.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, remember how like back in the day we used to use this font?
Yeah.
It's in this movie, and you're like, this isn't that movie though. And they're like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very intentional and smartly done.
Yeah, and I think like the first time you watch it, you're gonna be like, if you're not like ready for it, it feels off. And then the second and third time you watch it, you're like, aha, aha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah. And so, we start off after this little setup bit, to a father and son driving down a country road. Get a little bit of a bonding moment. You were conceived in this old car kind of stuff.
Which, because of what movie this is a bonding moment.
Mm-hmm.
And in the real world, is not a bonding moment.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not weirded out by your parents being like, oh yeah, this is how you were conceived. It's like, yeah, that's how it happens. I mean, I have a similar backstory to the main character.
Yeah, I think it's just this film, like, this is a huge, like, point, like, pin in the plot is, like, young love, like, the car.
Yeah.
Cars in general. And then, like, don't forget your family and how much it means to you is kind of like shoved in here.
Yeah.
Like don't forget that, like, yeah, we're a quirky family, but I'm your dad. Love you.
It's very much the same opening as Disturbia.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, not yeah, Disturbia. I was mixing up the name Disturbia and Gothica. Disturbia, the one with Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Actual
Cannibal too. Actually kind of topical. And so this bonding moment is broken by some bloody dude walking in the road as the car crashes, and we abruptly, very, very abruptly, cut to 6 months later.
And it feels like a pretty standard horror movie intro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guy in the road is spooky, but he's not, like, way out there left field scary.
He's not 40 yards back. He breaks into a bear crawl.
It's not Shia LaBeouf coming to get you in the night.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, it is unnerving.
Yeah, well, and you say that, but it also opens up a little bit differently, because normally when we have this type of horror intro, it's always that group of people is killed off.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't really have a survivor, or if we do see the survivor, they're more of a side character down the line.
Yeah, or like briefly brought in 5 minutes before the end of the film.
Yeah, like, but I do like that it's quick, because it's not like the fucking reboot of Friday the 13th where... Like, you spend 20, 30 minutes with this group of people.
For them to just be dead?
Yeah, exactly. It pulls a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But from the 6 months cut, we're out of school. It's being let out. Standard teens stuff. Main character and Brett Jamie are planning their weekends and what their plans are for the dance.
It's so heavy-handed teen romancy that it almost hurts.
Yeah, it's very, and that's again, we're gonna go back and forth between this a lot, because at its core it is a teen romance movie.
And the way that it's shot too, like all of it, especially the scene and the high school suite scenes, all feel like the camera work is purposefully feels like it's like low quality. Like it feels like not even a student work, but like not quite B movie, like TV adaptation movie.
Yeah, it's generic camera shots.
Yeah, like it's just real, like almost forgettable movie style.
Yeah, because honestly, the most memorable part when I first watched it was, of course, the hot rocker chick walking in.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and Brent's friend Jamie leaves to ask her to the dance.
Yes.
Which one thing I really like about this setup is that we still have that weird mystery going on. We know this Brent's the main dude who crashed the car.
Yeah.
We have absolutely nothing else in between.
No.
I mean, it feels like we've kind of just ignored what just happened.
Yes.
And dove headfirst into whatever this is going to be.
Yeah, and they pretty hard, like, ignore all of his trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I'm sorry about your dad, man, but, like, who are you taking to prom?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like such a non-event.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because it's the opening scene.
Yeah, and at the same time, it is kind of a non-event for our main character, as we'll find out later on. He's just kind of, it's very, I know why it works so well. It's because he is very much going with the flow of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's kind of happening around him, and he's just not really...
He's not, like, living his life. He's letting his life happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because while his friend goes off to do his thing, he gets approached by an awkward girl, and she creepily asks him to the dance. But he is taking him, and he's going with Holly. Yeah, he turns her down very politely and says no. But yeah, it is interesting because, like, from the get-go, you're like, yeah, she's creepy, but, like, it's hard to pinpoint what about her is creepy. Yeah. Like, they don't, like, come straight out and they're like, oh, she's the weird kid. Well, she's just awkward. Yeah, and I think our understanding of her creepiness is us knowing what's going to happen. Oh, yeah, for sure. But also, she just feels so vanilla. Yeah. Yeah. She almost feels like she's fake in the scene. Because, like, it takes her almost too long to, like, respond. Yeah. In some of the dialogue. But, like, it's purposeful. It's like, he's like, no. And she has to sit there and be like, oh, I'm asking you to the date. Yeah. Especially in the very beginning. Because her character shifts drastically. Oh, yeah. It's great. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting. And it's also something of cultural note that I was not aware of. Mm-hmm. In Australia, the final high school dance is not referred to as prom, but it's called the formal or school formal because it's the only dance where you're supposed to appear in formal attire. Oh. Which ties a little bit further on with his friend and his outfit. Okay.
Cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I. I had to do a little digging on that crap. But continuing on, Brent leaves. Holly's outside. She's just received her license and takes Brent to go screw in her car.
Like one does.
Yeah.
In a young teenage flick romance.
Yeah. Well, and this part's kind of funny too because it's just in the middle of a field. There's no cover.
They picked the worst spot.
Yeah, out in the open, and you can hear cars in the background while they're talking. Like, it's just this weird...
They picked the first place that they saw to pull over.
Yeah. But this scene's also, despite it being silly and relatively long...
It is awkwardly long.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this movie as well. A lot of the sexual parts are awkwardly drawn out and for movie wise.
Yeah, and for pacing too, because later on we'll see this movie can pick up pace.
Oh yeah,
this movie gets moving, but in this first couple scenes, especially with the weird teenage car sex scene, it drags on. For a scene with boobs in it, this scene takes forever.
Yeah, and it's not interesting either.
No, it's dumb teenage shit.
Well, but it's also important too because as edgy as Brent is, because we learn he's cutting himself
and he's smoking the marijuana.
Oh yeah, but it's more so to juxtapose that hey, he's not just going through life; he is going through shit. He's not handling stuff very well. Granted, we don't know anything about him before the accident.
True, we don't. Yeah, but it's implied that he was a little bit less.
He was
troubled.
He was an edgy teenager. His dad mentions, "How can you listen to your shit?" This is the classics.
Yeah, but at the same time, the classics his dad puts on are back in the day he would have been the edgy teenager sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So and with all of that said, the underlying tone for the whole movie is that the director is a metalhead.
Yeah.
There is. And it's not even a tone of in some of the new Nicolas Cage films that we've seen where the music is gonna inspire this and this about the character, or this is really gonna evoke that feeling of passion or drive. Here it's just oh yeah, by the way, my favorite music style is heavy metal, and I would like to just drip that across this whole film.
Oh yeah, and sometimes that's also what kind of makes the film too.
No, I actually really like it in this film. Sometimes it does feel a little forced.
Yeah.
But I think in this film it actually works really well because it does feel like the character's stylistic choice. That's what he would probably pick to listen to. And then on top of that, especially with the metal that was chosen and the guitar riffs that are picked, especially later on, it feels almost less like music and more like sound choice.
Well, and on top of that, with another musical or the only other really other song that appears in this movie, it's very drastically different of stylistically and just
the neck snapping switch between this and the only other song.
Yeah, I mean it's metal. It's it's fun. It
is fun, and it's also it feels very intentional metal, which is something that is I don't know how to place it other than you've seen movies where all right, we're gonna have some heavy metal in there, and they just kind of throw in kind of a generic sounding metal. This one feels intentional. We've picked this song, and we want this specific sound.
Yeah, and I know there's one specific song that I heard because it'd been a while since I watched the movie, and I didn't know the band at the time.
Yeah.
So when it came on, I'm I know exactly, and it's an Aussie band too.
Yes.
So yeah.
And it feels almost a little bit like the director going I know I'm a metalhead, and I know the people who are going to like this movie, you're probably also a metalhead.
Oh yeah.
So here you go.
Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But after this long scene as well, the couple whites steam from the car window, and who should be there but Lola. Lola's the name of the creepy girl.
Lola's also the only name I remember for this whole film.
Yeah.
because Lola is the perfect crazy serial X name on this planet. That's such smart writing. Because all other Lolas that I know are a little unhinged, but like always that sweet bouncy. It like reminds you of like Lola Bunny from Warner Brothers.
I was thinking Lulu May. It's one of those double names.
It is a double name.
Either you're a news reporter or you're a psychopath.
Or both.
Yeah, both. And so Brent is dropped off at home, reveals that Lola Stone was the one who had asked him to the dance. And
this whole thing, like, if you really want to, you can take this whole scene down and, like, true romance movie style, look through it and be like, wow, his girlfriend really likes him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she calls him a lot of sweet names. She says, I love you, good night. And he doesn't say I love you at all.
No.
Not once. And, like, he seems so conflicted about having a hot, sweet, nice, loving girlfriend. He's like, meh.
Well, it also just shows his disconnect of, like, he is still going through, he's having his fun, but he's still going through the motions of life.
Yeah, like, he definitely hasn't processed any of that trauma.
Yeah. No, because from here, we cut to him in the house writing, and it makes me think of a little bit of, it's popped up again as a meme, or a TikTok thing with, what's System of a Down Sugar?
Yes.
I sit alone in my desolate room. No lights!
No music!
But this one has music.
Yeah.
Just anger!
But it's the same type of music!
Yeah. Well, and specifically, it's none other than the Aussie metalcore band Parkway Drive and the rather fitting song Idols and Anchors.
Yes.
As you said, it's very intentional and it fits so well.
Yeah, and if you're a metal person, you're gonna really dig the soundtrack for this movie. But if you're not a metal person, some of this is gonna feel a little off.
Oh yeah. And from him sitting in his desolate room, the mother enters and asks who's driving him to the dance.
Ah, yes, the vague mother figure that we don't care shit about.
Not really.
Not at all.
Well, she's just kind of there to drive the plot further.
Yeah. No, she fits the exact role of the dumb teenage romance movies where it's like, oh yeah, I lost my dad, but like my mom's still alive, but like I don't care about her.
Mm-hmm. And by extension, his girlfriend Holly.
Yeah, no, it's very much same plot.
Yeah, they're very nothing to it, but they're also important in like driving and balancing the movie of getting everything else going on around it for the most part.
Exactly.
Because in this moment, we both kind of see that they both, in their way, blame Brent for their dad's death.
I mean,
not really, but
it's hard to step around.
Yeah, because I mean, he was driving, but it also shows that they're both not comfortable with him behind the wheel.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
And to be fair, it really wasn't Brent's fault, but regardless, his dad is dead.
Yeah, and like, it's also very clear that like, he has not processed that it's, like, he's clearly blaming himself for all of it. Yeah.
And, well, it also brings up something in this movie of people not watching the road. Because there's a part further down where there's a very straight part of the road that we can clearly see everything, and no one's paying attention for the most part.
Yeah, this movie would be a good PSA for, like, distracted driving.
Yeah, a bit, actually. And so, from this little argument, Brent storms off in the very stereotypical...
You're not my real mom, but it is his real mom.
Well, and the way he storms off, it's... Because it's the slow motion of him walking. He's gripping the razor blade, his hands are bleeding. And then he does this, like...
It's very, like, edgy emotional.
Yeah, and then he like goes to like this desolate part with his dog and like hangs off a cliff edge, which
contemplating jumping, but then he's like, nah.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know if he's really jumping. It feels kind of like either that test of courage or like to feel alive. For me, for some stupid reason, it made me think of that moment in Brave, but without the waterfall.
Yeah, I can see where you're going from. When I watched this one, I think the first time I definitely was like, oh, he's going to jump. And then we're going to move on from there. And then the second and third time I was like, no, he's at that point of like self-hurt where he's thought about it.
He's living on the edge.
He's living on the edge. And like part of it is to like feel something again.
Mm-hmm.
And another part of it is to convince himself he still has to keep living.
Yeah.
Which like I think ties in later on with like the whole like, you gotta survive even if this sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of mindset.
Yeah, no, it's like we said, this movie is heavily a teenage drama movie.
Yeah, like hardcore.
Yeah.
Like if this had been a normal teenage drama movie, his girlfriend would have pulled up and like talked him off the edge sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't really gonna do it.
Or like scolded him, or his mom would have pulled up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, from here, he goes and he hits the pipe as his mom smokes cigarettes and waits anxiously.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the whole thing, like, is, like, building up to this whole idea of, like, oh, they both aren't processing this well. It's clear that, like, stuff's not going right, but all anyone else in his life talks about is the dance, even his mom.
Yeah. It goes back to him going through the motions.
Yeah.
Because...
I mean, it just really, like, hard sets in that whole concept of, like, oh, teenage romance film, like, his girlfriend will fix it.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out in the end.
Well, yeah, / yes and no, because it does build up to that, but from here is where it starts getting extreme.
This
and
is
starts
the turn.
Building real quick.
Oh yeah, no, this is the left turn.
Because some bloke knocks out Brent, and his mother tries to call him. And
the good old kidnap part of the horror flick.
Yes, and right after this, all that drama that we just saw, we cut to Jamie, his dipshit friend who's getting prepared for his date by smoking in the car, and what we can assume is parked out front of his date's house.
Yes, it is. It's totally parked out front of his date's house. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. If they made a sequel that was not even horror-based, and it was just following Jamie around, I would watch the shit out of that.
Jamie would be that one dipshit friend who, like, is just fun to be around.
Yes, and, like, I would totally watch a short movie that's, like, all from Jamie's point of view. The horror stuff can be happening in the background, but I want it focused on this stoner pothead kid who's like, I've got the hot goth chick.
Yeah.
She's taking me to prom, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would watch that movie so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, and even then, like, his dipshit nature is so contrasting his dates.
Yes. They are so counter opposites, and, like, it's in such a high school puppy love sort of way where, like, if they were adults, they'd probably complement each other really nicely. Like, I know couples who are like this.
Yeah.
Where, like, one looks like the dad of the group, and the other one looks like his stoner daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're married.
Yeah, and I know a couple like that, too, as well. Like,
yeah, but they're at that high school age where, like, they're both in that awkward field of, like, yeah, she's cool, but, like, not that cool.
Not
and, like,
that cool.
And,
she's
like,
just got tits.
Yeah, she's got boobs.
Yeah.
And he's just the weird stoner kid, but he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He's, like, in a teen comedy movie, he'd be, like, the random best friend, which he is.
Yeah.
And I love it because he never breaks this role.
No, he doesn't. And
it is perfect.
And he is just as awkward, too.
Yes, they're both awkward, and I love it.
Yeah. And also, I love that he is wearing that suit t-shirt that, like, every edgy emo high school kid had in that 2009.
I was gonna say, and this movie came out in 2009, which, like, I knew 2 different men who both were smokers in high school who wore that shirt to prom.
I was not a smoker, but I did wear that to a dance, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think I had, like, the neon version of that shirt. Yeah. Like where the lines were, like, neon lights and shit.
And you know what cracks me up even more is both of the stoner dudes who wore that shirt to the dance, one of them took the crafty goth chick who made her own dress out of duct tape, and the other one took the, like, hardcore goth chick who was a good 9 inches taller than him in her platform boots.
Well, good on him.
like I think part of the charm of these two is, like, we're about to go hit some really hard shit, and they're, like, flip back to their story.
Yeah,
is like a nice, like, quick breath.
Okay, I will say this to their story / Jamie's dipshitness.
Yes,
Jamie is a nice balancing part. The date's name is Mia, by the way. She is very much going through the same thing Brent's going through, where she's just kind of along for the ride, but her story is, I say, it's her. She's a little bit sadder of a character.
No, she definitely is.
Yeah,
she is an emo kid who has earned that emo badge.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think part of the charm is that because we don't need any extra backstory, like, especially if you went to high school in the early 2000s era, you know people like this.
Yeah.
And so you don't need any backstory for them. And when we violently switch back to them later, you don't need to have, like, any reminder of what's going on. Because you know these people.
Yeah. You went to school with them.
You had these people as friends.
Oh, yeah. And so, the cop dad comes out.
Cop dad.
To take photos, which there's that awkward sense of teenage humor. It's a very awkward, stupid moment. Like, like we said, the first time watching this, all these scenes feel out of place, but then you start listening to it more and watching it more. Because the dad says, let's take one more for safety.
Yes.
And that was like, oh, like,
yeah, and like
hearing that again.
And like the cop dad is like doing the, like, what back in the 2000s we thought was the smart thing, where he's getting a picture of them on the night. It's sweet, but also like, I have a photo of what you're wearing and what you look like and your car. Yeah. And the last one he takes, he gets it so he can get the license plate. Yeah. And he's like, all right, now you can go to the dance.
Because, yeah, these two, we obviously have never interacted outside of him just maybe passing in the hallway, but never really had a conversation before asking her to the dance.
No, like, they've seen each other, and maybe they have a class together, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, from this, we cut to Brent's mother, who is searching for him as Holly shows up. And then we cut back again to Jamie and his date, who are having a very awkward conversation because the cop dog was sniffing his crotch because that's where he kept his pot. Yeah. And he's like, I didn't want you to think I was unclean. And she's like, what? You thought I was going to suck your cock? Yeah.
Yeah. And it just kind of rounds out that whole awkward teen experience, so that way we can now snap our necks looking the other direction.
Yes, because now we have more build-up with Brent, because the car that he was in pulls up to a chicken joint called Hot Wings Charcoal Chicken, which... delicious. I had to look it up. It's a type of rotisserie chicken that's done over coals. Yes. I didn't know that, so...
I don't think you can find it around here.
No, it's very much cultural things that, like, as much as we like to think we're close to Australia and, like, a lot of the other English colonies, we are drastically different, especially with, like, the Scottish people I've been talking to and stuff. It's like...
Nope, we're on our own. We're on our own little island.
Oh, yeah. But there is overlap. And it was just a curious thing that they also have rotisserie chicken, but, like, this is a different variety. At this point,
though, who doesn't have rotisserie chicken?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that one's common.
Yeah. But, anywho, enough of the food talk. Mother and Holly call Cop Valentine.
That's the dad's name.
Yeah. Her name's Mia Valentine. I forgot about their names until watching it. I'm like, this is perfect for our anti-Valentine's Day movie that was supposed to come out on the 13th. Whoops. Happens. It's the times. We just gotta be safe. Yep. As everyone should. Because the reason they call Valentine is the dog has been shown up stabbed.
Not the dog! Also, yeah, by the way, if you're one of those people who don't care what happens to the humans as long as the dog lives, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
The dog don't make it.
Well, and this is one of those ones where, like, because Holly tries to get the dog to the vet, but it dies along the way. Yeah. I
will say, normally I'm not a big fan of, like, the random pet death just for, like, sentiment's sake, like, just to make you cry. I will say, however, this is one of the few movies where, like, it feels correct. Yeah. Like, once we start getting into who killed the dog and all that, like, of course they stabbed the dog.
Yeah, and it's one of those one-off ones where, like, you know how I have that theory in horror films, if there's too much focus on the dog's going to die? Yeah. There's not that level of focus.
You kind of forgot the dog was there.
Yeah, because you also forget that the dog went along with...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, you totally, like, can gloss over the dog. Yeah. We barely see the dog.
Yeah, it's just this weird thing that doesn't fully fit into my general idea.
This is one of the few times where killing the dog acts really nicely as, like, a premonition of what's to come. Yeah. As opposed to, like, oh, don't you feel bad for the dog? Like, this one feels more like an omen.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if they stabbed the dog, what did they do to Brent?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And from here, we cut back to Jamie and Mia. We still haven't seen Brent for, like, a good 10-15 minutes.
It's a really nice, like, anticipation.
Yeah. But Jamie and Mia have arrived at the dance, and he's still awkward as fuck.
I mean, When is this man not awkward as fuck?
Never.
That's his characteristic.
Yeah, but I also like it because Mia doesn't really want to seem to be there.
No, like neither. Like they both wanted to be dates to the dance, but they don't really want to go to the dance.
I don't think she even really wanted to be a date to begin with.
Yeah, I would say yes and no, because her storyline is like a mere parallel of our main characters, and I think where he already has the supportive girlfriend and is realizing like that's not fixing his problem.
She doesn't have
that and is hoping that fixes her problem.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. They're very much similar people, and she's kind of she in a way is a premonition of what he could have become.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so finally the car with Brent stops to pick up a possum and drives home.
Delicious roadkill possum.
I don't have any notes on it, but I went into a little bit of a rabbit hole on the legality of roadkill meat.
I don't know about Australia's rules, but I am well versed in the Missouri rules.
And it is interesting where it's like I went into some of it where it's like, yeah, if you did it, it's fine, but like if you just found it on the side,
it's questionable.
Yeah, or it's downright illegal in some places.
It also depends on what you're picking up.
Huh.
There are certain animals that if you take that sucker, nobody cares.
Deer.
That one's a questionable one.
Okay.
It's questionable. But like, oh, you picked up the squished raccoon or possum? Oh no, that's gross. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You take the elk off the side of the road? Okay, now we got questions. Now we have concerns. Yeah. I mean, we had concerns before. Don't just eat roadkill. That's terrible for you. But like,
unless you hit it yourself.
Unless it is guaranteed fresh.
Yeah. And even then, like, because internal organ damage, if the intestines ruptured.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Again, like, unless you're redneck enough to know.
And even then. Oh god, that makes me think of the Waterboy scene.
Yeah.
What part of the snake are we eating? The neck.
The neck, all of it.
But at the house is none other than Lola Stone, and we get what is by far the creepy little music. Like
it's so good.
This is the part like in the build-up before her theme song.
Yes,
like that music is very much so like very generic horror, but it works so well from everything else we've seen.
Exactly.
Because from here we cut to Lola getting ready to the most fucking obnoxious song I've heard in a long time.
It gets stuck in your head.
And it becomes the theme of the movie to the point where, like, my pre-watch of this was when I was prepping food for Lads Night, and Elijah came over, and he showed up about the time when he was doing the cliffhanging stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But this fucking... We went down a little rabbit hole of, like, how big was this song? The song is Not Pretty Enough by Casey Chambers, which was, like, I guess one of the biggest Aussie songs of the 90s.
Yeah, and I remember it. It wasn't as big, but I had friends who, like, loved this song.
And I find it completely obnoxious as
hell.
Oh,
no, it was. This, but you have to remember, this came out in 2009, so, like, obnoxious pop songs were kind of, like, a thing.
Yeah.
It was a genre.
I mean, obnoxious pop songs are still a thing.
They are, but I would argue now, like, at least now, a lot of them, the lyrics are a little bit more interesting, or there's a backstory in there somewhere that, like, if you were into the artist, you could, like, be like, oh, well, this is an expression of fill in blank here. Back then, though, it was a lot of, like, mindless, like, love romance pop songs, or, like, sexy pop songs.
Yeah. And this one is very much the edgy suburban white girl song.
Very much so. Like, you know exactly what to think when the song comes on, and it never stops. It's like, and it's perfect though, because it is so repetitive.
It makes me feel like early Taylor Swift.
Yes!
Yeah.
Which is perfect, because like this, you have to remember, this is back when the meme of like, the possessive girlfriend was like, that was a standard emoji back in the day, was like, the one picture of that one girl.
Back in the day when we didn't even have emojis, we had the colons and the parentheses.
I mean, we had them, but nobody used them. You weren't cool. No, you weren't cool if you used them.
Old school memes, and we are really, really showing our age here.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
But yeah, like the like creepy girlfriend like meme and like the over repetitive songs was just like a standard, and so like this playing in really ups the creepiness of like she's such a generic pop girl. Yes
and no, because on rewatching this, I was going back through it, and there are, because we see like the dolls and sex positions.
Oh yeah,
that's normal. But there are some creepy and weird parts in this because all the photos of men are just their bodies, no heads, even in group photos.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, her entire room is like this. So starting off, a couple dolls and sex positions, but then you get, like, there's too many of them for that.
There's a lot,
and they're just out there. And also, there's this weird like level of childish nature to her room.
Yes, like she feels way too much like a high school kid who's still really into Barbie.
Yeah,
really into Barbie.
Exactly, and it's just paired with the photos just makes it even creepier. Because she's also going through, like, a photo book, a journal or something.
Yeah, like a scrapbook thing.
And her dad is creepy as shit, too.
Oh, no. I love her dad. Her dad is, like, the perfect level of creepy dad.
Oh, yeah. And, like, they both reciprocate that creepiness. Because he gives her a dress that's on homage to Carrie.
Oh, very much so.
And it's this weird juxtaposition of going back to this movie being a teen prom movie.
Yeah.
Where this is the scene where the girl would get all dolled up and we'd get to see her undies, and we do, but her dad's sitting there watching the whole time.
It's uncomfortable as heck.
It is very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I that's one thing I do like about this movie is that it does go there and it does push those boundaries.
It does. It really does, but it also, like, it toes some of the boundaries nicely that it makes you question who's more insane, her or the dad.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's there. He's not telling her no, but he's also not, like, he doesn't seem to be, like, actively participating.
Yeah.
It's very much like, well, Princess told me to, so...
Yeah, because that's what he calls her the whole time is Princess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she runs this house.
Mm-hmm. We cut back to Brent, finally, who is actually in a tuxedo as he's woken up to Lola and her father creepily watching him along with a woman with a wound on her forehead.
And she's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
She's just really not doing good.
Isn't her name Bright Eyes?
They call her Bright Eyes, yeah. I don't know if they ever actually say her name.
No, and I don't think the dad gets a name either.
I don't remember. Remember.
Real quick.
Yeah, just Daddy.
Yeah, Daddy. Yeah, and I think Lola is just called Princess in the credits, so...
I mean, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so right away, Brent starts struggling, and they inject him with some kind of drug that's supposed to stop his voice. I saw in a comment it's supposedly supposed to be bleach, but...
I saw that too. I have questions on how the bleach would target just the voice and not the rest of him.
Yeah, exactly. Because I do know when you drink bleach. Again, directing directly into the tissue compared to drinking, but I know when you drink bleach because I go down medical rabbit holes every now and then. It completely fucks up your entire digestive tract.
No, it just, like, burns. Everything. So, like, how they got it to just the vocal cords and not to hit the rest of his airway.
Yeah.
But I will give them props for being clever psychopaths.
Yeah.
Because this is, okay, now we're starting to get into some of my favorite tropes for, like, crazy killers.
Yeah.
Is, like, the Hannibal Lecter style smart.
Well, yes and no.
Like, they're smart, but they're also unhinged.
Yeah, because for the relatively normal setting this really is, it makes me think of, like, the dinner scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes!
And Resident Evil 7.
Very much so. Very much so, Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm. Just getting ready to eat.
Yeah, no big deal, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and we also get to see this girl who was kind of... mousy.
Yes.
Become very, very cruel from the get-go.
Yes.
Yeah. Just this, like we've said there's build-up, but this is really the flipping of the switch.
Oh, yeah. Like almost a different person.
Mm-hmm. Because right after that, we cut back to Jamie and Mia, who are smoking and drinking vodka, just normally rocking out.
Again, I would watch an entire movie of just these two.
Yeah.
With, like, the background murder happening while they're completely oblivious.
Yeah, it would actually kind of be a weird, interesting flip-flop of just them as, like, the main cast. But then we cut to snippets.
You would have to watch this movie first to appreciate their movie, though.
Oh, yeah, totally. But even then, I think their movie as a whole would kind of be boring. Or if it was
short.
If it was a Mia movie, it'd be more interesting. But from that, we cut right back to the Stones having a finger-licking good dinner.
Oh.
Yeah, which Bright Eyes, the woman with the wound, is not eating.
No, she's not doing a lot of anything.
No, and Lola is just so cruel and manipulative in this. She's like, why aren't you eating?
She is more cruel than even her father.
Mm-hmm.
Her father seems content to just have the pain around him.
Yeah.
And she seems like she needs to, like, add to the fire. Every opportunity she does, she feels like a brat.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what she is. She's daddy's little princess.
Oh, yeah. But in the worst way.
Yeah. And also just, like, because while they're having the dinner, she's being, like, trying to be sexy to him to Brent in a very creepy way.
Yes.
And just, like, the way she talks about his penis is so fucking creepy.
Yes. And it is all of those things while remaining that weird childishness that she had originally. Where, like, she still feels like she's that kid who's into Barbies way too late in life.
Yeah.
Like, not even like I'm a collector, or, I appreciate, like, straight up plays with Barbies, like a little kid style.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, like, because the lead up to that, and this is why we chose milk, the way this family drinks milk is disturbing.
It is terrible.
But he didn't want to eat, and she's like, "Oh, are you hungry? Do you need to use the bathroom?" And he's like, "Yes." So that's why she drinks the milk aggressively,
aggressively.
So that way he has something to pee into. And God, just the whole build up of, like, the hammer, and, like, if you don't do it in 3, daddy's gonna nail this into you.
Yeah, it's so, like, little kid but aggressive.
Oh yeah, and then that's why it's so creepy, because she's like, it's crying. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. That is I've seen memes of a certain style of animation that sounds like that kind of edgy, stupid shit.
I mean, like, she feels, like I said, like, she's like another level of dumb idiot. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, not that dumb. Like, she knows what she's doing.
No, and I think part of that comes into the fact that for her, she said to prepare for the role, she researched Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, you can see it.
Misery.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't seen that yet. It's on my list.
Yes.
Natural Born Killers and Tarantino's movies.
I could see the Tarantino influences, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she's got
some of the, like, dumb but evil faces going on that really work.
And the dad's just
he almost feels like he's, like, at one point, maybe this was fun for him too, and, like, now it's like, well, I promised her night. It is prom night for the little girl.
But the where stuff goes into this movie, I know he's definitely taught her all this stuff to begin with.
100%. 110%.
She's just allowed her to continue that without ever growing up.
Exactly.
Also, I think there might have been a little goof here, because when the dad grabs the hammer, he's like, "This is what I used This is what I used on your dog to kill your dog." It's like, but the dog was said to be stabbed earlier on. It's a little nothing bit. I mean, you could use the claw of the hammer, but it just...
I mean, the claw would be very effective.
But, yeah, just...
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird little bit. Because after a bit of torture, Brent is able to escape, but is chased away up a tree while the Stones stone him out of the tree.
They do. And
kind of like a weird... It almost makes me think of how the Firefly family in House of Thousand Corpses.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of plays with them, but in a less comedic way. But it's still kind of...
It's almost comedic, though.
Yeah. Because he's hiding under the car, and then he runs up the tree, and then the dad crashes the car into the tree because he's chasing him. It's this weird...
It's almost Tom and Jerry-esque.
Yeah.
And then they stand at the bottom with an absurd amount of rocks.
Yeah, and also the way he falls from the tree onto the hood of the car is just so kind of funny.
It's almost cartoony.
Yeah.
It's almost cartoony with a heavy layer of, like, just terrible horror over the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And from here, I mean, we cut to Mom and Holly while Brett gets some knives shoved through his feet.
Yeah, to keep him from running away.
Yep, and while Lola demands he cry for her.
Again, Lola is a brat.
She is... She very much feels... She's that weird hybrid of killer that doesn't fall in between the two clean definitions of process and product killer.
No, she is both mixed together.
Yeah, she is... I'd definitely say she is more process, but when she's saying, cry for me, that's a product she's wanting to see.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, because from here, we also, also, I do like the dad's little one-off line of, this one's for the Kingswood, which is the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the dad's a little pissy, even though he's the one. Actually, that's a good parallel to the beginning of the movie too.
Exactly. Yeah.
This movie is more clever than I feel I even give it credit for too.
It is sneakily clever.
Yeah, because now Lola begins going through the scrapbook of past victims, where we come across one Timmy Valentine.
Oh, that name's familiar.
Yeah, and she says Brent is going to be the lucky last.
Oh. Good.
Yay. And she says she is ready to draw on him. As we cut back to Jamie and Mia, who are still doing their thing.
Oh, bless Jamie and Liam.
And Jamie kind of wants to go in. He's like, shouldn't we go in and get some punch or something?
He definitely feels like the sort of guy who's like, well, we're at a dance, so I guess we should dance?
I mean...
And she's like, why? Why do we have to?
This is the age of Fall Out Boy.
Very much so.
Dance,
dance.
This
is... That song is playing in there, so for sure.
Yeah. And so, from these cut back and forth, we get to see the results. That reminds me a little bit of Inglourious Bastards.
Yes! Okay, I'm glad you said that. Me too.
Yeah, because I had to look it up, because I couldn't remember if this or Inglourious Bastards came out first. They both came out around the same time.
Sure.
So, I'm pretty sure it's just a happy coincidence, but the way she's looking at it, the same camera angle, it's
You're
very
getting pretty
much...
good at this.
Yeah.
I got Inglourious Bastards vibes too.
But at the same time, it's one of those things where, like, what this movie does well is showing the results of stuff instead of actually being brutal and violent until the end.
Yeah.
And I have got a thought on that too, why that is. But it kind of makes me think of what we were talking about in the Pan's Labyrinth episode, which, oddly enough, we've paired some movies back to back that, while we thought weren't related, have tied into each other quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it's that thing of leaving it up to your imagination, because if I remember right, she paints on him with a fork or some shit. Like, it's not even like a clean knife cut. Like, it's
messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this night is not going well for Brent.
No, he's having a rough prom.
And there are some bits to this too, because she starts throwing salt on him.
Yeah. Okay. So I know a little bit about this.
Okay.
So the whole like nomenclature salt on a wound, there is some bits to that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps the wound from closing properly.
Oh.
So she's literally branding him. So like even if even if like she hadn't done that, he could potentially like scar over a little bit and like it could eventually maybe go away. But because she's pouring salt in it, it is going to heal rough. So it's going to be really hard to get rid of this scar.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that I didn't even think of that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this movie's got a lot of good stuff to it. Like,
I promised my CIA agent that I Google only for good. And movie references.
I Google for just neutral chaos, so that way people are like, why the fuck do you know that? It's like, because I went on a tangent in a little bit of dwarf tossing videos that I was curious about. very controversial in some regards, but yeah, it was interesting. But also there's a part in this movie where this is the part where like there's this blurred filming feel to it that it kind of makes it feel like Brent's kind of at that breaking point and losing his mind. We already know he's strong, but like...
Yeah, like he's finally snapping.
Yeah, he's got knives in his feet.
Yeah, I feel like the knives in the feet was like the start of it, and now that we've like put literal salt in his wound, like this is the point where he's like, alright, fuck this shit.
And speaking of salt in the wound, what she carved into his chest, her initials, LS, is the question that cost me the trivia match on Sugi's, when I was on Sugi's stream, which, check out Sugi Logic, he's fun as shit. This is the question that killed me, and why I lost it, because I knew the initials were I guessed it was her initial and his initial.
A classic, but she is a self-centered psycho bitch.
Yes, and this was before I had rewatched the movie.
Yeah. And
had done any little digging into it. So. Yeah,
it's her initials in a little cutesy love heart.
It feels, well, even then, like, it feels like a My Chemical Romance t-shirt kind of thing.
It also feels like something that, like, some kid would, like, carve into, like, a picnic bench.
Yeah. No, it's...
Or, like, on the bathroom wall, like, just, like, carve that right on into the school stall.
I think that's one thing that, especially for us who grew up in the 90s, because I graduated in 2009. I think you graduated 2010?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has that branding of that era, and why it's probably not a good one for some people who's a little older or a little younger than us.
It's not going to hit quite the same.
Yeah,
there's definitely some elements.
Oh, yeah. It's branded well is what it is.
Exactly.
Because from all this stuff, because this is really besides the bleaching, this is the most violent we've seen towards Brent.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff we've seen is the aftermath.
Yeah.
Because his folks are still worrying, and his friend and date finally decide to go into the dance, which she stumbles out of. We know she's had too much to drink. Smoked a little bit too much.
Definitely.
Yeah. And we cut back to the Stones again, where Lola is announced as queen of the dance, while Brent is, of course, the king.
I love how right before, her dad's standing there with like a handful of confetti and is like, all right, and now to announce the queen of the dance. And she's legit standing there giddy, like, I wonder who it's gonna be. It's like, bitch, who's the only woman in this house?
Excuse me, it could be Pretty Eyes.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. Bright Eyes, the lobotomized sloth over here is prom queen.
Yes. Yeah, no, it is this very... And the other thing it plays off of, too, and the only reason I know this stuff is I had a girlfriend who was really into those teenage drama shows. It's very much... She's acting the way they portray high school girls in those types of shows. Yes. And how the girls try and react. It's kind of like how also it makes me think very anime-like.
Yeah.
Of like how people try and 100% imitate.
Where it's like so fake. But they don't care.
Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, like this isn't how that actually works.
Yeah. No, you're complete... they're delusional is what it is.
They are fully delusional.
Yeah. And so, by shock to everyone, or shocked to no one besides Lola, she is crowned, and we cut back to the dance.
Yes.
Where, a very awkward slow dance moment where Mia is jerking off Jamie on the dance floor, and they get kicked out. But I also like this part, because there are those two different types of couples in it. There's the one where they both are giving the approving head nod, like, my man! Yeah. And then we get the other, like... probably sheltered couple who's like, the fuck are you doing? Yeah. And just like their look of disgust. It's a fun little moment.
It is. It is a hard whiplash.
Yeah. Going from, well, yeah, kind of, but not really, because we've gone back and forth. So we have the salt scene, but then we go back and forth between very prom dance-like moments.
We do. And it's just like a hard whiplash for me because like, her pretending to be giddy at being crowned her own prom queen with her dad.
You're talking about her specifically going from, like...
Her being giddy to them being, like, a gross couple on the dance floor.
Oh, okay.
Like, for me was, like... The other ones, like, felt more predictable. Like, oh, of course we're going to switch back in here. But we switched here. Yeah. And I was not expecting us to switch here.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that makes much more sense. Yeah. Oh, well, we did also have that moment in the finger-licking good scene where she was, I'll kiss it and make it better.
Yes.
And that's not Australian. I can't fucking do an Australian accent. But yeah, and that's actually an interesting part, too, going back to that one. Because the dad draws the line. Because if the dad wasn't there, she would have just...
Oh, yeah, she would have.
Finished off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Britt would have died a long time ago.
Well, no, he would have at least got his dick sucked beforehand.
True.
To completion.
Yeah. And then died.
Yeah, because the dad is the one who stops and he's like, hey, enough.
Yep.
Even though...
This is prom night, damn it.
Yeah, but, well, that's fitting for prom night, too. But, yeah, it's just... It's interesting to see him have boundaries, you know? Yeah.
And it's clear that she's pushing those boundaries.
Yeah.
Even though their boundaries are very far in the boundary world.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, well, now we're cutting back to more dance-like stuff because Lola dances to that fucking shitty song again.
Yep. Again, it's on replay so much it almost is crazy.
Yeah, and by dance, she's just kind of sitting on Brent's lap.
Yeah, it's a little lazy dance.
Very sexual as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's realized that Brent is not the prince, but he's just a frog. It's been Daddy the whole time. Daddy's the prince.
Yeah. Yay.
And I don't know if we can really call this daddy issues.
It feels like Lola issues and Daddy is along for the ride.
Yeah.
Because, like, even he's like, oh, you're my sweet little princess. But no.
You know, I kind of wonder if there's any photo of Dad in her room.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
I don't know. That'd be something interesting to keep an eye out for, because if Dad's in the room, I doubt Dad's head's removed.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. He's the only one who's never disappointed her.
Yet.
Yet.
Because from here, we cut back to Mother and Holly, who are worried, but Daddy Valentine promises he'll find them. Yeah,
and here we get to one of my only real gripes that has remained throughout watching this multiple times.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my gripes were gripes originally, then they moved into like, I see why.
Yeah.
The cop situation in this movie is so cliche, and I get it. I know we're playing off of the whole, like, Friday the 13th cop sort of mindset of, like, I'm gonna go see what's going on. Doesn't call for backup. Doesn't call for an ambulance. Doesn't tell anyone where he's going. I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't love it.
Yeah, no, and I get the cop dad is very awkward, but he does serve a purpose. Same with the mom in Holly, where, like... Yeah,
I just feel like his purpose is so minuscule, it could have been Holly or the mom going to go check on him.
Yeah.
And that would have, like, eliminated a useless character.
Yeah, but he's there.
He's there.
He's fine. He serves his purpose.
His purpose is to die.
Yes, very soon, too. Because, from here, and honestly, a lot of the worrying scenes could have been cut, I feel.
Yeah.
They just feel like they're filler to advance people getting to the stone house.
Yeah, and, like, I also feel like we could have maybe used the worry scenes a little bit smarter to, like, round out Mom and the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because honestly, we don't really know much about either of them.
No, we know more about,
Lola.
Well, we know more about, Jamie and Mia.
Yeah, than we do about... And, like, we don't care about Jamie and Mia. Like,
no.
Their whole purpose is for you to not care about them.
Yeah, Mia's there for the eye candy, but you do care about her at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a weird roundabout way. And her life's still gonna get worse, too.
Poor girl.
Because we cut back to the Stones where they've revealed a hidden room.
Surprise, they have a cellar. A very deep cellar.
Yeah, full of screaming things that are revealed as Lola decapitates the possum and tosses the body to them.
And they eat it.
Yeah.
Yum, yum.
Which we haven't actually fully seen what they're yet. We just hear them screaming.
Yep.
And we cut to Mia and Jamie fucking in the back of their car as they're caught by the principal, which...
Of course.
Is this weird, like, little parallel action between, like, Lola watching the other two screw. And it's a funny moment because I love this moment because the principal's like, well, one, she's
Yeah.
hot and their side boob.
Yes.
But the principal's like, when I told you to leave, I meant or go do that somewhere else. I meant off of school property, which I guess this is what high school kids do in Australia. They go and screw in the middle of a field.
Okay.
In a car.
But at the same time, this is like playing so hard off of those old like 80s like romance
Town
movies.
That Dreaded Sundown kind of stuff. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, no one in their right mind actually does this. Like, Makeout Point isn't full of cars, full of people making out. That's weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's such a trope, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because what was it? I watched, my buddy Miso Farrell recommended I watch this. Good streamer, too. She's been busy, so she hasn't streamed, but if you get a chance when she's back, check her out. She's fun. Very real person. But she had me watch this movie, Saved.
Okay.
It has Macaulay Culkin. It's about a chick who goes to a religious school.
I like Macaulay Culkin.
He's in a wheelchair in the movie.
Okay.
He's actually pretty fun. But there's a part in the movie where because her boyfriend reveals he's gay. And so
that would put a hitch in their relationship.
Yeah, she's trying to un-gay him.
That's not how that works, but okie dokie, ma'am.
The movie's actually pretty good.
Okay, I'll have to give it a try.
But yeah, there's it reminds me of that kind of shit too.
Okay,
so.
yeah. We're tropey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing about this movie is that it plays off those tropes, but then twists them a little differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now we go into a very real true crime bit, because Lola wants to drill Brent.
With an actual drill.
Yeah. But and that's the thing, for as disturbing as this movie is, and they do a good job of showing the results without being too gory. The drilling in the head, we don't see it drilling into it. We see it from an angle that's behind it.
Yeah, but you do get the noises.
Yes. Which this is obviously pulled from Dahmer, especially with the hot water. But actually in the same spot too. I called my dad on this because my dad was an OR tech to ask about drilling holes in heads. Because I was curious. I had watched this, and then I watched the live action adaptation of Homunculus.
Oh yeah,
where they drill a hole in people's head. And I was just curious about like the dust and brain or skull dust that gets in. And
I feel like you don't want that.
No, you don't. But it's gonna happen, and they just squirt it and suck it out. So
yeah, I mean, like lots of people have holes in their heads and they live just fine.
Yeah, no, it was just a weird the weird tangent my mind went on about like seeing those two movies close enough together.
I will say though, it is an interesting thought point to think about how many times Lola and her dad have drilled into someone's head that they can do it without them strapped down.
Yeah.
And not kill them.
Yeah.
Because your skull's not that thick.
Well, and that's the thing too, because on top of that, this is Lola's first drilling.
Yes.
But she fucks up she doesn't even fuck up. She's like she fucks up in pouring the water in because she's the klutz. But she's like, the hole's not big enough. Can you drill it bigger, Daddy?
Yeah.
But in this moment, as the dad goes to do that, Brent retaliates and kills, no, he does drill it a little bit bigger, but Brent retaliates and kills the dad.
Yeah.
And in the very first moment of gore we have in this movie.
Proper gore.
Proper horror gore, not the results. But here's the thing. So, Daddy falls into the pit, which is revealed to be full of other people that they've done this to. So there's at least half a dozen people they've drilled.
Who are still alive down there?
Including Starry Eyes. Or Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
But I have some thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
All the violence we've seen in the movie up until this point is happening to Brent.
Yes.
And this movie, in a way, is his point of view, but then when he takes action, because it's like him trying to block out the mental trauma of all the shit they've done to him that night.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start seeing him do the actions, he doesn't care anymore. It's all revealed to us.
Yes.
Very clever filming, in my opinion.
I like it.
Yeah. But then Brent falls in, he's pushed into the pit by Lola, and he has to fight the others off as, Lola goes fucking psychotic.
More psychotic.
Yeah. Yes. Let's be fair. She's awful.
already psychotic.
Yeah. And from this, we cut to Jamie returning Mia home from the date, which...
I mean, they had a good time.
Hopefully. Hopefully they finish it off somewhere else.
I would assume so.
Well, might not, but I mean, Jamie, in this moment, it looks like he feels rather not regretful, but like kind of guilty.
Yeah. Like it wasn't the date he thought he was taking her on.
No, exactly. And just, I think he's kind of like realizing at the end, like, hey, stuff's not right with her.
She didn't have fun.
Yeah, because there's very much, like, yeah, it'll come back up in a minute, because there's, again, back and forth a lot on this movie.
Yeah.
So, Brent is in the CMU pit. Actually very nice CMU pit.
Yeah.
But Lola goes to kill Bright Eyes, and then we cut back to the Valentine's, or Mia Valentine's actions are revealed by her grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize that what we've known earlier on, but her brother was the one who was killed and gone missing.
Yeah, he was the one who ran across the street earlier.
Yeah, because they do mention that they never found him. They're like, oh, he's the one who got away.
Yeah.
But we've never heard anything. He's probably dead by now.
He ran off. He's dead.
And it explains the cop dad, one more for safety.
Yeah.
And there's this nice little buildup of that family's backstory.
Yeah, they're not super crucial, but they are tied nicely in throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, well, they're not crucial, but I was talking with Elijah about it, and the reason I like their inclusion is that instead, in like a normal horror film, we see the focus on, or a serial killer film, we see a focus on the killer and maybe like the first victim or their target.
Yeah.
But we don't really deal with the aftermath of a lot of those movies. And it's a nice balancing act that ties really well in together. Because when I first watched this movie, but before the decade-long movie binge I've been on.
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised by, for me, that was the oh shit moment of, like, this movie's more intelligent than I thought it was.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, especially if you don't know it going in. Because, it's easy to gloss over their last name of Valentine.
Oh, sure.
Especially for me, who am better with faces, not so good with names.
Yeah, fair.
We both giving characters nicknames. You're not good with names either.
I don't know who anyone's name is.
And that's why I write them down in our outline. And at this moment as well, Holly remembers who asked Brent to the dance, and she calls Cop Valentine saying, hey, I think it's this Lola Stone chick.
Yeah.
Which the cop then arrives. Brent's making noises, but the cop is killed by Lola, and Brent totally wastes his bullet for no reason trying to shoot her.
Totally wastes it.
It's kind of that, it's not Point Break, it's, is it Bad Boys? It's in Hot Fuzz. The one they reference where he rolls over and he shoots the sky.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember which one that one is.
I'm not familiar with the movies, so...
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Hot Fuzz, not the movies they reference.
Then it's from Hot Fuzz.
Yes, because they do repeat it in Hot Fuzz. Everything is a reference. But yeah, Lola, at this point, is completely derailed. She's gone into... not really in berserker mode. She's at the start of it because she killed Bright Eyes, and she's like, I'm going to go on and kill your mum and Holly like you did my daddy.
Yeah.
Again, I can't do an Australian accent, so I default to my shitty English one.
Yeah, a little bit.
I have a really bad one. But she is such an edgelord.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
like, and that's the thing is, like, there's this weird stereotyping of, like, how men are edgelords and women are edgelords.
Yes.
And they're very drastically different. But she is the female equivalent of a neckbeard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very strongly.
As probably a lot of girls in high school were.
I mean...
To a point.
I feel like everyone at some point went through a neckbeard phase, and you just didn't realize you were that person until you grew out of it.
Oh, yeah. Everyone does. Most people.
Yeah.
Most people in our group. But Brandon escapes using the corpses of the cops and the other dead people on a pile of bones.
Just crawl right on out of that, like, terrible cellar.
Yep, which he then goes to take the cop car, but ends up... Well, okay, sorry. Quick, there was something before this.
Mm-hmm.
Lola ambushes Holly after a very awkward stare down that I know would annoy your husband.
Yes.
Also, this is the part where I was thinking, how the hell did she not see Lola in the road?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know, she's changing CDs or something.
I don't know.
Looking at the MapQuest directions.
I forgot that this is this era. Yeah, but I mean, it's pay attention to the road.
Yeah. Don't run over people unless they're trying to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I wonder.
I still maybe don't actually in the real world run over people.
Yeah.
In this movie.
PSA for paying attention to the road.
Yes.
Because Lola ambushes her by throwing her scrapbook at the fucking window.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, she's walking on the road singing Am I Not Pretty Enough? Like,
yes.
It's in such a very sad, sappy, like,
woe is me.
Yeah, woe is me. I'm running away from home.
Yeah, nobody loves me.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a quick moment. I mean, it's the stare down. I think Brian would be annoyed with.
Yes, definitely.
We should come up with a list of just stare downs and just have him only watch those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drive him up the wall.
But Brian escapes, steals the cop car, runs over Lola on the way.
Whoops.
Which, in a way, it's again mimicking what's happened before.
Uh-huh.
He sees the person in the road. He's the only person looking at the road, swerves out of the way, and it fails successfully. Which, God, Lola's gore that's on her at this point is so damn good.
Yep.
And it's also kind of a funny moment. And same with, like, Lola chasing Holly. There's, like, these weird little Looney Tunes, like, moments.
Yeah, where it's almost comedical.
Yeah, and I think it's just the way it's filmed, too, because normally in, like, horror movies like this, there's a bunch of cuts back and forth of, like...
where stuff is, angles, none of that.
No, it's just
it's
very...
a little Austin Powers-esque in how it's shot.
Yeah, just
where
a little bit.
It's zoomed out just a little too far for it actually to feel scary.
But it's enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so fitting. But the pair decide to slowly roll back over Lola.
Crunch.
Yeah, and this is also the second and also anti-Valentine's movie where we've covered that ends with a blood-drenched woman and features a corpse pit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We know how to pick them.
Yeah.
Unlike Lola. And so the movie ends with Holly and Brent returning home to live happily ever after and not have to deal with the psychological and physiological trauma being drawn on. Also while being drawn on. Having a hole drilled through his head, filled with boiling water, having knives driven through his feet, and being stoned out of a tree onto a card, while having bleach injected into his vocal cords.
Oh, and you forgot the carved onto his chest with salt in the wound.
Yeah, well, that's the drawing on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's where I got lost in my tangent. And let's also not forget his dead dog.
Yeah, and his dead dad.
Yeah.
And having to watch Lola just exist in her own home.
Oh, she's dead now.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, no
one's gonna have nightmares for a while.
No one's getting out of this movie scot-free, which again goes back to Valentine, who her dad's dead now too.
Her dad is now also dead, but she does get vengeance for her brother.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Does she though? She didn't really get vengeance.
She didn't, but, like, she knows her brother's killer's dead.
I don't know if that helps as much. But who's the real monster in this? Because, think of it. Yeah, Brett's put in these situations. He kills the dad. He kills 6 or so people in the basement.
Yeah.
4 probably. And then he kills the Lola.
Yeah.
Brett's killed more. Brett has a higher body count in this movie than, as far as we know.
Yes.
From what we've seen in the movie, because all the guys, other than the ones who got away, kind of his dad too.
Yeah.
Brett has a bigger body count in this movie. To be fair, most of it was survival, but...
Britt has a faster body count than Lola.
Yes. And to be fair, probably the people in the basement have the body count. Not really technically Lola. Murder by accessory. Murder
by accessory for sure. I don't know, there's a lot of, like, fun to think about with Lola and her dad pre all of this. Because they have pictures in the house of him with her as a baby.
Yeah.
So it's not even like he, like, found a psychotic teenager and was like, you're mine now.
Yeah.
He raised her to be like this. Well, which also begs the question, they've probably moved before.
Yeah, because, one, where does the mom come from?
She doesn't have one. They've killed her.
Well... That's the thing. At what point did he do that to Lola's mom? Because it's assumed that Bright Eyes is
okay,
Lola's
I have a
mom.
theory about this. Because yes, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, Bright Eyes is Lola's mom. That's why she's at the dinner table.
I think I have the same thought too.
Okay, so I have a theory that Lola and her dad go back and forth with who they kidnap. Her dad's fantasy is dating and finding a new mom for Lola.
Oh.
And her fantasy is to find a boyfriend so that they can be like, the stereotypical picture happy family.
Yeah, and that's why she's mean to Bright Eyes all the time, because she's not my real mom.
She's not. That's why all of those people in the basement are there. They're not, some of them are Lola's past dates. Some of them are probably Dad's past dates of people who weren't what he considered the perfect mom for her.
Yeah, you're right there.
And eventually you're going to run out of, dates that are around the same age as your daughter, and dates the same age as you, so they've probably moved a couple times.
Yeah, it's...
Otherwise people would have noticed that a lot of people went missing.
Yeah, there's too many bones.
There's too many bones!
To be fair, the bones are probably a lot of animal.
Kill, but, like, they also aren't taking that good a care of their basement pets.
No. They tossed a possum to 4 people down there.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And Possum's a one-man meal.
Well, scratch that. They tossed a possum and they dropped a whole corpse in there too.
Yeah.
Cop corpse.
One cop corpse. But I don't think they're regularly feeding their basement pets cop corpses.
No. And also the soundproofing of that floor.
Yeah.
Of that door.
Yeah.
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 And, like, no house you're buying with that pit in it. They built that sucker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, but that's the thing. I don't know if they would have moved with that kind of basement. Because, so think about it, like the Toy Box Killer.
Sure.
He built a basement underneath his fucking camper. Yeah.
The reason I say that they've probably moved is Lola is creepy enough that from elementary school, she would have been the weird-ass chick.
But that's the thing. She is so vanilla.
Yeah, but, like... even if you're vanilla, if you're that level creepy, everybody in school already knows who, like, this is their senior year.
Yeah.
Britt wouldn't have been like, oh, no, random weird girl, I'm going with my girlfriend. Like, he would have booked it away from Lola.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that, like, maybe they didn't move a ton when she was younger, but she probably hasn't been going to this high school for a full year.
Yeah, well, I wonder how many men are actually in that or teenagers are in that basement too.
At least a couple, though.
Yeah. I don't know the Australian high school system, so I don't know if they've just got, like, the main homecoming prom, but I know some schools have, like, the winter dance. They've got, like, the spring formal or spring unformal or whatever the hell it's called.
She at least has enough, like, she's at least got 2 or 3 other dates down there.
Yeah.
You know, at least one.
Well, no.
Well, he was down there. Now he's free.
No, he was never down there. He's the one who got away, remember?
He did get away.
Yeah.
We don't know how he got away, though.
Oh, no, he would have been probably like he probably would have been the homecoming dance.
Yeah. 6 months before. Ish. Give or take.
Roughly. Yeah. Interesting food for thought.
Yeah, like, the concept of a psychopathic, like, killer family, while in real life, terrible.
Yeah.
But in movie world, interesting to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
And, like, I like that they don't fully explain this family, but they give you enough to be like, they've done this before. They haven't been caught. Like, she's getting old enough that, he can't control her anymore.
But yeah, no, I mean, it is interesting just to think about these non-traditional family structures we see in movies.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, based on the traditional.
Yeah, and, like, there's enough back evidence for crazy people in real life who like they pulled from for this movie.
Yeah.
That like they're not so far out of left field that they feel like Addams Family unrealistic.
Yeah, they're not caricatures.
No, they feel like they could exist.
Yeah.
Which is both upsetting but also very interesting to think about.
Oh yeah. And I mean, we have seen it in true crime and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, speaking of the legacy of this movie, it somewhat inspired a real murder. In 2013, Gary George tortured and killed his friend Andrew Knoll while reenacting some of the aspects of the movie.
The judge was not impressed.
No, he wasn't. He's like, you are an awful person. Knoll was found beaten, sustained 49 knife wounds, had cleaning fluid found in his eyes, and had something carved into his stomach and salt poured on it.
Not cool, dude.
Yeah. No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, is while this movie pulls from serial killers, we talked about the body count real quick.
Yeah.
Lola's, as far as we know, she doesn't fall under the serial killer.
We don't know. That's the great part about this movie is like, we know that they are definitely experienced. We just don't know what level.
Yeah.
Like
the dad's obviously experienced, and he's teaching Lola.
Yeah. And, like, it's also clear that, like, she's been around it a lot.
Yeah. Because she's desensitized.
Oh, completely.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, there's some level of rite of passage going on here where, like, oh, it's your prom night time for your first hole drilling in the head. But she's also gotten to carve into people before, because she's getting good at it.
Yeah. Best one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just so... For being a little as obscure as this movie is, there is so much to it as well.
Yeah, there really is.
That I honestly think that, like, people should go and give it try and track it down. I know Sugi rewatched it because I was telling him that we were doing this. But yeah, I don't know. It's just this, from the pacing of it's one of those movies where it's, for me, it in recent years, when I watched One Cut of the Dead, where, like, I was watching Loved Ones, and I'm like, where the hell is this movie going?
Yeah.
But then you start really getting into the flow of it. You forget that he has a girlfriend and that his mom are waiting.
You don't really care about them.
But you get invested in Jamie and Mia, especially after you get to the end, and it's like, okay, her actions make much more sense. She's just not some teenage girl who's going wild. Yeah. She's basically... She's
going through it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's almost in the exact... She's in the exact... Actually, they lost both the people around the same time.
Yeah. They're, like, mirrors of each other.
Yeah, in an interesting way.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of the... It's... I don't know. I truly... love this movie. Really bad tie-in. But no, I truly do. And it's one of those ones where, like, I like to bring it up every now and then because it is one that is worth a watch even now.
Oh yeah.
Some stuff aged,
yeah, but at the same time, like, it aged in kind of a charming way, kind of like how a lot of 80s Scream movies did, where, like, yeah, I don't necessarily relate to the technology or the styles, but at the same time, like, it evokes an era. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And, I mean, especially with... I've seen it kind of die down a little bit, but the true crime wave we've been writing for about the last couple of years... Yeah. It definitely would fall into that area.
Yes, very much so.
So, and I mean, that it's also kind of It's weirdly a good teen horror movie, too, even though it's a hard R rating.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a good first hard R rated horror movie because it's not over the top gory.
It's not the worst one.
No.
By far.
But it's also relatable to teenagers. So yeah. It just fits into this weird little niche and nice little pocket that...
Yeah. And if you're already into the hard R rated horror movies, like, this is going to be a really pleasant watch. Yeah. Like, it's really well thought out. It's not just gory to hit that rating.
No.
It's smart in just about every way that it is.
Yeah, and impressively, the movie was shot in 4 weeks.
Yeah, like, it's nicely done.
Yeah, it's a very tight enough movie.
Yes. And there's definitely, like, if it had more time and more budget, you could see where the polishing could happen.
Yeah, the polishing and some of the fluff could have been removed, but it would have made it quite a bit shorter movie.
Yeah, and while, it could use polishing, there's some fluff or some rewriting that maybe could have helped a little bit with some of the holes in the plot. it's not necessary. It's not like, it's not breaking the movie to not have them.
Yeah.
Like some horror movies are.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not so bad that you have to laugh at it. Like, it's nicely done.
Yeah, it's a solid anti-romance movie.
Yes, it is.
Which, at the same... Because actually all aspects of it, like, there's not really even... The only romance that really happens is between Lola and her dad.
For her.
Well, even then, like, Brent doesn't really have a romance story to it. His girlfriend's just kind of there.
No, yeah. I mean, she clearly loves him.
Yeah. Jamie and Mia's...
I feel like that one could potentially work into one. Again, if they had their own short movie where, like, maybe it goes on a little after the show or the movie, I could see how that could, like, build from, like, that edgy emo kid into, like, still edgy emo, still having a hard time, but now I have a boyfriend I love.
Yeah, but in the movie itself, they're not a romance. They're just...
Not really. They're just a couple.
They're just a quick date and a screw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They only got together for prom.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's a very... there's no romance, even though it's set up to be a romance. And so...
It's not even a real date.
Yeah, and that's why I think this movie really falls into that anti-romance genre or subgenre that we kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess at the end of it all, Chris, do you recommend watching The Loved Ones?
I do. If you're into some gore horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
If gore isn't your thing, I can understand passing this one.
Yeah.
But if this interests you, it is solid. It is a good movie. I will rewatch it somehow.
Yeah, at some point or another, it could be one of those nights where we just throw a bunch of my movies into a bag and we each pick one and it's like, oh, we haven't seen this one yet, or, hey, Brian, you're watching this.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree with that. I think it's honestly a hidden gem that is worth a rewatch.
Definitely.
Is it going to be one of those all-time classics? No.
Not for everyone.
But it's fun, it's enjoyable, and there's enough to it if you want to dig deeper.
Yeah, and honestly, this is one of those horror movies that, like, a handful of people, this will become your favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's not one of my favorites, but it's up there for me.
Yeah, so, I can see why.
Yeah, go and check this out. So
it was good.
Yeah. Anywho, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.